All right, so now we're going to just go through a few slides that talk about philosophy of life. All right? So the first one is when I first started teaching, people asked me, how do you come up with a loop invariant? And I said, well, it's an art. All right, so that's one possible answer. Another fact we were trying to see is that there are different ways of looking at the same thing, actions versus sequence of actions versus sequence of assertions. This one's saying that, coming up with a loop invariant might be the hardest part of coming up with a new algorithm. But once you get it, once you have a good loop invariant, right, the algorithm somewhat just falls out, right? Because you have to say, well, how do I maintain this loop invariant? Sometimes that's obvious. How do I get the postcondition? That can be obvious. In fact, the quickest money I've ever made in my life is a bunch of data structure people came and said, hey, I have this problem. And I thought, okay, well, what's the loop invariant? How do we maintain it? Half an hour later, I had an algorithm. And I got $15,000 from IBM for that algorithm, which paid for my deck. All right, but now my deck's falling apart, so I have to do it again. All right? So, the hard part, the creative part is knowing the loop invariant, right? It says don't come up with the loop invariant afterwards. Use it as the process. Don't start coding until you have a working algorithm. Try small examples. You might think of an example. I try various things, and I say, what do I want to be true in this example? Right? All right, you can take small steps from the, I tend to jump into the middle and know what I want to be true in the middle, but you could start with small steps from the beginning and see what you want to be true. This is what I'm saying about jumping into the middle, right? What do I want to be true? Somebody else was teaching this course and I saw their slides and they focus more on that the loop invariant tells you it somehow tells you what work has been completed already versus what work is still left to be done. I don't like this so much because it feels more like a measure of progress to me, but still, right? This is when I talk about flowing smoothly. Right? Remember the loop invariant at the beginning looks like the precondition, right? And at the end it looks like a postcondition, and we're breaking this. But really there's a long way to travel, and the loop invariant cuts it up into nice little pieces, right? This is your fairy godmother. When I leap into the middle, I ask for 100% of what I want. You're not going to get what you want unless you ask for it. So this is just assume you get what you want, and then you ask, well, can I maintain that? Right? That's her again. Oh, what's this one then? Yeah, this is ask for what you want. And then if she gives it to you, then you have to maintain that loop invariant. Right? So from here, you have to take a step to maintain it and make some progress. I think we've sort of seen this already, that there are reasons why your loop invariant might not be good. Why you can't. One reason is if it's too strong, you can't get it from the precondition, right? If it's too weak, you can't get the postcondition from it. But even this maintaining thing is subtle. If it's too weak, you might not be able to prove that it'll be true next. If it's too strong, then you can't get it from the previous step, right? So there's a nuance about needing it to be just the right level of strength. No assumptions, right? When we fly in, all we know is the loop invariant is true, right? Don't make the mistake on a test of saying something that you don't know from the loop invariant, right? You know what I mean? So on tests, I've said, what is a loop invariant? And people will give me code. They'll give me a precondition. They'll give me some statement that's always true, like 1 + 1 is 2. That's a perfectly good loop invariant, right? But it doesn't really help much. It's just true. I mean, it's always true, but it's not very useful, right? So, for example, I've had people give me, well, the loop invariant is that the top element of a heap is always the maximum. Well, I know that, but that's not what we're... Anyway, I mean here, right, or they give me actions, right? All of those are wrong, right? Everybody here? right? Oh, this is what we talked about differentiating between the values. In fact, this is what the slides that I couldn't find, right? This is the code, and so it's meaningful as code, but it's not a math statement. And what do we do as a math statement? We can say, well, let x prime or x sub I be the values at the beginning, right? These initial values, right? We need to differentiate between the initial values and the new values, right? So you give a name to the initial values, you give a name to the new values, and then we can give the relationship between them, right? Everybody remember that? And I'll try to find those slides. Hopefully I haven't lost them. Right? All right, this is just saying what we just did, right? We didn't, that looks like code, but, oops, so where are actions? Oh, this, I don't know what was happening there, but here, another mistake that I see people give sometimes is, what's your exit condition going to be? Right? You have to come up with an exit condition. And sometimes people say that the exit condition, well, when do you stop? Well, you stop when you're done. Right? That makes sense. So what are we going to make our exit condition? We could make it that you're done. So when are you done? You're done when you get the post condition. So it's perfectly natural to make the exit condition to be the post condition. Right? Stop when the post condition is true. All right? So is that a good thing to do? Right? The problem with it, right, is can we prove this now? Yeah, we can prove this. This is easy, right? Because we made the exit condition be the post condition. So clearly, if the post condition's true, the post condition's true, right? Now there's nothing to do here, right? This says if these are the same, clearly when I exit, we've got the problem solved. But what's the problem that we've got remaining? We've moved the problem somewhere else. What can we not prove now?
We can't prove that the loop invariant and the exit condition resulted in the post condition because the exit condition already exists.
It's still true that if this is true, then this is true.
Yeah, it's just not based on the loop invariant.
It's not based. I know, so it feels wrong.
Yeah.
It feels wrong, but mathematically it's sound.
Okay.
Right? Right. So we're proving now that if the program halts, we'll get the right answer. Right? So what don't we have? We don't have that the program halts, right? How do you prove that this miracle is going to happen? Right? We have to prove there's enough measure of progress. So you make enough progress, then the exit condition will happen. Right? That's where all this work goes now, is proving that the exit condition is going to be met. Right? And the people who do this don't then go ahead and prove that it halts. So they haven't really done the hard part. Right? They did this hand wavy part, which didn't, and also what's funny is they'll give me a long proof here, not realizing that it's trivially obvious, right? So everybody kind of get what I'm saying here? Right? Difficulty becoming that we get the exit condition. All right, everybody good? So